on this critical initiative. There is nothing more urgent than expediting financial assistance that will kickstart the cleanup and recovery of Southern California neighborhoods and allow folks to be able to start rebuilding their lives, just as we have done in Northern California. And this is why, in agreement with the governor and the speaker today, we'll be including $2.5 billion in our current special session, which will be moving forward later this week. You're going to hear from our budget chair in just a moment to talk about the cadence and how this will be moving to the floor later in the week. And this $2.5 billion will be on top of the $50 million for legal defense to be able to protect some of the most vulnerable Californians, protect the people, the progress, and the policies that make this state so great from this incoming administration. Quickly, I'd like to talk about how the $2.5 billion will be spent. The first $1 billion is going to be assisting local agencies who have sent literally thousands of firefighters and fire engines and police cars and water tenders into the greater LA region. Secondly, this first $1 billion will help kickstart the community cleanup. There are two important phases to a cleanup after a wildfire. First and foremost is household hazardous debris, getting rid of all the car batteries, the oil, the gas, the household cleaners in a home. And the second is removing all the devastation on the individual parcel of what was one's home. And we have to ensure that we have the dollars to be able to move that forward. These are 100% reimbursable expenses by the federal government, but the way it works is that the state, the county, and the city have to pay the bills first, and then we get reimbursed by the federal government. And I might add, we still are owed about $3 billion since 2015 by the federal government, which is all the reason more we have to move this money now to be able to ensure a successful cleanup. This money will also help us rebuild schools faster, and $1.5 billion is coming from the climate bond. The climate bond that was advanced by Senate Democrats here this past year. That climate bond was overwhelmingly supported by voters, $10 billion in total, and this will ensure $1.5 billion in resiliency funds for wildfire mitigation will be available this year. We are expediting those funds out with the communities. These dollars could be used to make communities more wildfire safe by creating wildfire breaks or defensible space, removing dead and dying trees, or doing vegetation management around homes and businesses, all the while protecting those who are most vulnerable. And I'll end it right here, and I'm going to turn it over to our budget chair. I've had a lot of questions about policy on top of additional budget and what can be expected this year from the Senate. So I look at these dollars as a down payment to the neighbors of the greater LA region. I promise you, Speaker Rivas and of course the governor will be committed to this as well. There is more help on the way. On policy, I believe that we need to enhance protections for renters against price gouging. We need to work with the county assessor. I had a great phone call with Jeffrey Pren, the LA County Assessor, yesterday, and his team about timing of property tax payments, and we're going to need to backfill lost property tax in LA County and the communities to make sure that they are kept whole. That is going to be absolutely critical. We had a kickoff meeting just yesterday on that. We're going to need to work with individual financial institutions on mortgage relief. What we see in a lot of fires is that folks are expected to be able to continue to pay their mortgage even though they no longer have a home that exists on their lot. We're going to need to work with individual financial institutions on mortgage relief. I have been championing this for quite some time. We need to transition CAL FIRE's seasonal firefighters and make them permanent. It is absolutely critical for the long-term safety of this state. We need to streamline and speed up the rebuilding of homes and businesses and places of worship. We need to work with the Insurance Commissioner, Department of Insurance, expedite payments, and of course, prioritize safe drinking water and to be able to modernize utility infrastructure. And by the way, this is all going to be happening in both the Assembly and the Senate. And I want to say thank you to Speaker Rivas, who's working with his caucus to be able to advance similar pieces of legislation. And this is going to be about collaboration this year. working hand in hand with the Speaker and the Governor to ensure that we are delivering for the people of Los Angeles. And I am forever grateful for the Speaker. I had an opportunity to meet with him and the Governor earlier today, and I know the Speaker is just as passionate and focused on these issues as our caucus is, and it's all about helping those who need help the most. I'm going to turn it over to our Budget Chair to be able to talk about special session.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Hi, everyone. In our special session, we have two bills that are moving forward. One is to allocate $25 million to the Department of Justice in terms of all the litigation that we unfortunately anticipate with the Trump administration. I wish that there would be no litigation, but we know from President-elect Trump's first term that they tend to violate the law, and so sometimes California needs to rely on the courts to uphold the law. And it's not just the law in the abstract; it is actual rights for Californians on a day-to-day basis, whether it's access to health care, whether it's access to education, whether it is around being able to continue to be together as a family, as opposed to having families torn apart through the deportation process, and so on and so forth. And so we are, this is very important. And then the second $25 million is to enhance legal services so that Californians have access to legal counsel and can protect their own individual rights if they are violated by this administration. So special session is incredibly important, and we are prepared and will definitely be prepared when this administration takes office and does whatever it's going to do. We will be ready to defend California, to defend California residents, and to defend our values. We also are, these fires are really less than a week old, and we are allocating $2.5 billion to initiate the recovery and cleanup and the rebuilding of Los Angeles. We are so deeply committed as a state. There's no Northern California and Southern California right now. We are all just California, and so it's like less than a week, and we are allocating $2.5 billion. And I'm really proud that we reached that agreement so quickly to help our neighbors in Los Angeles. I do just want to say, because there has been this bizarre narrative put out by some of my Republican colleagues that somehow, that you have to choose between supporting LA's recovery and defending California against Donald Trump, that there's something inconsistent between doing both of those and you have to pick. And so they're running around saying, oh, well, because you're allocating funds to defend California against Trump, that therefore you are not helping LA with the wildfires, which is absolutely false. The state's already been actively helping LA, and now we're making a very significant investment very quickly to do so. We can do both, and in fact, we have to do both for the reasons I just explained. And in terms of just LA's recovery, defending California against Donald Trump is critical for LA's recovery, because we know that this incoming administration has already told us that they intend to mess around with LA's disaster relief money. Senator John Barrasso went on Meet the Press yesterday and said that they're going to put strings, quote unquote, on LA's disaster relief funding. Joe Biden didn't put strings on North Carolina's recovery money. Can you imagine if Joe Biden had done that, what the outcry would have been? But that's a senior Republican senator went on TV yesterday and said that. And then today, Speaker Mike Johnson said that Los Angeles' disaster relief may get tied to an increase in the debt ceiling. So they are playing games with people's lives. This is about people's lives. And so we need to defend California against the attacks from this administration, including its efforts to sabotage, undermine disaster relief for Los Angeles. In addition, deporting 1 million Californians, in addition to just being immoral and wrong overall, has profound consequences for the recovery and reconstruction of LA. We know that nearly half of construction workers in LA, consistent with statewide, are immigrants. Our construction workforce is absolutely reliant on immigrants who go to work every day and work hard and build all the things that we need to thrive as a state. And so to deport a big swath of our construction workforce will profoundly undermine LA's recovery. So these two things dovetail, and I'm proud that we're able to do both. Thank you. And now I want to turn it over to our amazing majority leader, Nina Gonzalez.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to build off of what our good senator had mentioned, as well as our pro tem. You know, as the majority leader, but also as the chair of the Latino caucus, you know, these are Californians who are undocumented who have contributed nearly $9 billion to the Californian economy. So this legal defense needs to move forward. There are folks in this building who have family members who may be undocumented. There are real repercussions, you know, to our economy and to the LA wildfire recovery efforts, as has been mentioned by Senator Wiener. We know that. There are folks right now that are undocumented that are actually cleaning up debris back in Los Angeles. This is where I grew up, and you know, it's just really unfortunate that we cannot, that there's a feeling that we can't do both, and that somehow undocumented support or support for Latinos or this community could be sensationalized. We shouldn't be doing that. This is the California way to move forward, to support everybody who has contributed to this great state. And for that reason, I'm just really thankful that the Senate has been very, very prepared, and that we're going to continue to move forward in this way. And by the end of this week, you know, we'll have answers for many Californians on these two important efforts.
So much, Madam Majority Leader. And now, Lena, for a few questions, and Dane, thank you so much for
Can you explain how this new $2.5 billion is going to work with the existing bills? Will there be new bills, and what's the timeline with all of this now?
Well, the bill, tonight we'll be amending. We have existing bills that are pending, and that will be amended in. So
all of this will be in the two bills in the Senate,
yeah.
And will there be amendments in the Assembly, or will these Senate bills be the ones that are moving now?
I think that the plan was to have one Senate bill, one Assembly bill, but so we'll be tomorrow. The Senate Budget Committee will be hearing the two bills. We'll be hearing the two bills, and then our plan is to vote on Friday. But obviously, both houses will have to approve the bills.
I just have a quick question, because this is sort of abnormal. In a moment like this, normally the pro tem and the speaker would do something like this together. And I just there's been some discussion about some friction between your houses when it comes to just some things to consider down the line on insurance. And I wonder why didn't you and Speaker Robert Rivas do this together? I mean, I know his staff is sitting in the back.
I met with, I had some individual conversations with Speaker Rivas earlier today. I'm so incredibly grateful for his leadership. He is absolutely committed to be able to move forward with the rebuild of LA. And candidly, Speaker Rivas had a gaggle last week. We did not, I talked with I think 7 reporters last week, but I did not do a gaggle, and he had already advanced that, and so that's why we're doing this here today, to be able to give a Senate perspective.
Yeah, because I don't, if you look at what everyone is saying, the governor, the Assembly, the Senate, we're all very aligned in terms of what needs to happen. And we're a big democracy with 3 parties to everything, and I'm confident we're going to get there in a very timely manner.
Sorry, I can be specific. So on Thursday, for example, the speaker reintroduced a proposal on insurance that your house killed, even though it had full support, didn't have any opposition. And so I'll be fully honest, I have sources saying that you only killed that bill from the Assembly standpoint because it wasn't your idea. So I'm just saying these are discussions that are happening that reporters like me are being told, and that, there's this, we're already seeing this lack of unity at the federal level. And I just wonder if it wasn't a secret to anyone that there was a lack of unity in that special session that the governor called several months ago. So I just want to know what's happening there.
So what I'll say is, if we want to talk about unity, let's take a look about what's happening today. Speaker, the governor, myself, we're moving with speed to be able to rebuild LA and to be able to protect the most vulnerable Californians. There is always going to be friction at the end of session, but here's what I've talked with Speaker Rivas about. Let's determine what we can fast track this year that will make California more affordable, more livable, and insurance absolutely plays a role in that. And what I appreciate with the speaker, he has an open door. We work very well together and look forward to getting this special session budget across the finish line. And I think the unity that we need to look at right now is that there's a three-party agreement. We're committed to be able to move it forward into hearings and on the floor. And I firmly believe that we're going to get this $2.5 billion for Los Angeles and California passed, along with the protections that we need for the most vulnerable.
We have time for one more question.
On insurance, what legislation will you be advancing on insurance pricing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. We are working internally right now. There are several proposals. One of the items that I firmly believe that we need to move forward is a home hardening commission. It's something that we have talked with the insurance commissioner's office about, the governor's office about, to be able to establish home hardening rules in the state of California. And the reason why I say that is right now, if you harden your home, there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to access traditional homeowner insurance policy. In fact, there are hardening projects happening on the North Coast in my district right now, spending tens of thousands of dollars per home, and they're still not going to be able to access traditional insurance. That is absolute hogwash. Hogwash. So I'm a firm believer that we need to establish firm rules and regulations that insurance companies follow, no deviation, and if you do the right thing, you spend your hard-earned dollars, you should be able to access traditional insurance. And we need to be able to have a data-driven approach, which is why I firmly believe that we need a home hardening commission.
What is being done about people who are displaced by the fires as far as shelter? Is that part of this $2 billion budget as well?
Yeah, there's just under approximately 800 in LA shelters as of this morning. And there are thousands of others who are staying at individual family members' homes, friends' homes. So yes, there's a couple of focus areas I think we need to have for the most vulnerable communities that have been impacted. Number one is we need to be able to focus on getting folks federal assistance. There are FEMA grants available even as we speak, and continuing assistance for short-term living up to 6 months for FEMA. And we need to be able to connect them to that assistance here within the communities that they live in. Number two, we just had a caucus conversation about this very thing, especially for folks in Altadena, who as you all know, Altadena was formed after there were redlining in Santa Monica and Malibu and Pasadena. And those are middle-class folks. Some folks who are struggling to be able to pay their rent each and every month, who are going to need the greatest assistance. And we may need to look as a state investment in assisting those families to ensure that they can continue to call Altadena home for generations.
Will you be also able to provide for counseling and mental health crisis that could be coming up? Because this definitely was coming out.
You're absolutely right. So a few things on that, and if I'm not being firm enough, please, I know you push back on me, but we need to be able, what I was saying, again, I don't mean to get emotional with you, and I apologize that I do. But the emotional scars that come from these wildfires, they are deep. And we need to work with the federal government. We have dispatched dozens of mental health professionals from the state, from across the state into the fire region to be able to assist. But this is going to be long-term. And I want to be very clear. This is going to be a bumpy road. This is one of the largest cleanups that we have seen in this nation, community cleanups that we've seen in this nation's history.
We gotta go.
And so I just want to finish up and just say, mental health is absolutely critical. It's one of the biggest unmet needs that we saw during the fires in Northern California, and we may need to supplement some funding to be able to expand mental health within the communities that have been impacted. I'm sorry that we're going to be able to get going. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, all of you, for gathering today. Thank you so
Senator
much.
Wiener, I just have a
What happens to the
logistical question.
$1 billion if FEMA doesn't reimburse it with Trump taking office? Is the state gonna have a hole in its budget?
So
So
logistical?
the logistical question, so it's 72-hour rule, but
Yeah.
is it just an information?
No, it's 72 hours to vote. Not for, you can hear a
Oh,
bill
that's right,
within
that's right,
72 hours,
that's right,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Got it.